What's good, YouTube? It's Justice. I used to be Pay, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Baka and his weird case. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. Baka's got a weird case. Why is he around? One of the most famous lines from Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, a line that will follow Drake and obviously Baka for the rest of their public lives. But for most people, we didn't really know exactly what Baka's weird case was. Like, we understand that a large part of the premise of Not Like Us was painting Drake and his crew as degenerates and predators, but we weren't really sure exactly what Baka may or may not have done. We just kind of assumed that it was something that fell in line with what Kendrick was talking about. But despite that fact, it still became one of the most famous lines on the song, despite people not knowing exactly what Kendrick was talking about. And some people didn't even know who Baka was. Now, I know there's kids at the front of the class right now raising their hands saying, I know you know who Baka is, but let me just fill in some of the people in the back of the classroom. Baka is one of Drake's very good friends. He's a member of Drake's entourage, and he's really like damn near a day one Drake guy in terms of his career. Baka started off as a security guard and then eventually worked his way into the booth, and now is just kind of one of Drake's boys. And he's a major cornerstone to OVO, right alongside somebody like Chubbs or 40. What brought this conversation back up after like a year now is Baka speaking on this situation of him being mentioned in Not Like Us.
How is it for you to hear all the noise that people were saying, right? People were just talking about stuff that they don't even know about, saying, oh, wait, this is this, whatever. Yeah. How did you keep your composure and stay calm?
Yo, to be honest with you, man, at first, my first initial thing was to respond and respond quickly, very efficiently, and very to the point.
Very directly.
Yeah, and you know, but like, it was like, it started brewing in me because where I come from, like, that shit doesn't happen. Like, you can't just call out a man and not have paperwork to back up your talks. Like, that is it's ludicrous. And then, like, to see like a whole nation behind it and celebrating it like it's a true story is unbelievable. Because, you know, everybody has to understand. Like, I have a kid. Drake has a kid. You know what I mean? So like, making accusations like that are like ridiculous and out of this world. You know what I'm saying? So, but like, what I was gonna tell you is this. Like, I was building up a lot of anger and stuff like that, but then I got a call, and I don't know why I got this call. It's like God said something to him or something, but the boy, sorry, it might not have been a call, it might have been a text message, but he messaged me, and he's like, yo, I know what you're feeling, I know you as an individual, and I know how you get down, but I'm just letting you know, like, don't listen to the noise, because it's noise. If you go back and look at all these people that are saying things or having anything to say, they're not even actual real people, they're like bots. Exactly. So like, don't let that shit bother you, bro. Facts. Like, and you know what, like, I mean, it's not a good thing, but they're calling your name. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you know, like, they're gonna get over this crap because they're gonna realize that it's crap, and then they're gonna go do their own research. And when you do your own research, you're gonna be like, wow, this guy made up a whole story about something that isn't even true, and it makes you look weird to me. I don't know.
It does.
But I want to say one thing to America, and y'all need to like get yourself together, because yo, making accusations on people, serious accusations like that, you need to have paperwork. That is the rule, like number one rule that everybody goes by. So don't switch up.
I'm not gonna lie, man, this sounds like some hold me back, man, you lucky they hold me back, man, you lucky they hold me back type of stuff. But I get where he's coming from, right? Like, it's only human to want to address the situation, considering everyone in the world was talking about it. But trying to make this like an America thing, that line being so popular is an America thing, is crazy considering how big that song was. But regardless, he can have that. He just kept saying over and over, the paperwork, where's the paperwork? And he talked about the lack thereof. So what does the paperwork actually say then? Baka, aka Baka Not Nice, has had a few instances of legal trouble throughout his life, and this part of the video does feel very nasty, but he said look into it. I'm not trying to be 1090 Jake or Whack 100 or any of those dudes, but he said look into it, so that's what we're doing. He went to jail at 18 and served around 2 years for an armed robbery, and then he said that he went to jail for 13 years. He served 13 years in prison for an attempted murder charge, but he said that he wasn't the one that actually committed it. It was his friend, but he ended up taking the rap for it, and that was like a major basis to a lot of his street cred.
Got out. I was out for 30 days, and then I got charged with attempted murder.
Okay, that's everything changed.
Convicted me for a crime I did not do. My friend did it, but I didn't rat on him again, and I got 13 and a half years.
Wow.
So that's where all the street cred and all that stuff, because everybody from my city, my hood, knew that I actually went to prison for something I didn't do.
But for a world of hip-hop where those two things are rapped about all the time, I highly doubt that that's the weird case that Kendrick is talking about, because pretty much every street rapper has either done those things, has some of those charges or has rapped about those things. The line "Baka's got a weird case, why is he around?" stands out so much because it's in a song like Not Like Us, where a large part of the song is accusing Drake and his crew of being predators. And the fact that he specifically mentions Baka makes him stand out because he calls them certified lover boys, certified PDFs, the whole crew. But he specifically goes out to name Baka, which in your mind already sets off alarms. Like, he just mentioned OVO as a whole, but he had to specifically say his name. This dude must be some sort of freak, diddy demon, something that just needs to be locked away for life. And where I believe these weird case accusations come from is his arrest in June of 2014. He was arrested for assaulting a woman during a domestic dispute. There were also charges of procuring for prostitution and human trafficking. I struggled to find any of the actual legal paperwork, but there were several news reports from that time detailing some of what happened. According to multiple reports, an argument between Baka and the woman began when she found him passed out drunk at home while French fries burned in the oven. He then pushed her to the floor, which led her to cry and then eventually alert the authorities. He ended up being sentenced to 6 months in jail, but didn't have to serve any extra time as he had already been in jail for 11 months when his sentencing came. The victim was a prostitute and claimed that she was forced into prostitution after being threatened by him. He apparently intimidated her into giving him the money she earned and used her debit card and PIN to withdraw money from her account. The woman who was his girlfriend and worked as an escort refused to testify against him, which led to the human trafficking charges being dropped. Quote, she said she hasn't had contact with the accused and wasn't pressured to not testify. The woman had since moved and hadn't informed police of her new address. She hadn't been subpoenaed to testify because police couldn't locate her. Now I'm going to give you two perspectives to look at this case off of. The legal one and the one where I'm just keeping it real. Legally, you cannot say that this man's a trafficker. You can't say for sure he did those things. You can't concretely put those things on his name. You can't put that on him because he was never found guilty. He wasn't even tried for it, let alone found guilty. So you'd be hard pressed to say for 100%, yeah, this guy's a trafficker. Now, if we're going to keep it real, the girl didn't testify. Okay, she didn't want to testify, but then she moves without alerting the police. And then the police couldn't find her to subpoena her because they just don't know where she is. She just poof, disappeared into the night, just like smoke. Like, you just don't know where she is. That's about as sus as it gets. I'm not going to lie. Now, I'm not saying that he did do it, but this sounds like some textbook, like gangster mob type of move with a witness. You threaten the witness, she gets spooked, she disappears out of town. Like that just sounds like something that would happen in like a mob movie. She gets ran out of town. Now, maybe she just felt bad for lying to the police. Maybe she felt bad about possibly ruining this man's life. So she just ran away and never went to trial because she knew she was lying and that it wasn't right to put this on this man. But I'm not gonna lie, this story of how these charges ended up being dropped is very, very suspect. Sex trafficking is a very serious crime and it's a plague on our society. So I would say that it's fair to bring up a possible weird case when it comes to sex trafficking. Now, is it 100% fair to put that on that man's reputation and say that he is a trafficker? No, it's not. Like, the charges were dropped immediately pretty much after getting them. He never was even tried for the crime, so you can't really say that about him. But was Kendrick Lamar trying to be fair? No, he wasn't. It's a rap battle. It's rap beef. All's fair in love and war. Maybe it's not 100% true. Maybe it didn't happen, but it doesn't matter. It's a rap beef. They're going to say things that aren't true. And I know Drake fans are going to be like, see, but you can't say he won because he said... We're not even going to get into all the lies in the beef. We're not going to get into the lies that Drake told. We're not going to get into the lies that Kendrick told because there were lies going on both sides. But I will say, yeah, whether he did it or not doesn't necessarily matter in terms of the ramifications of the beef. Now, obviously, if we're talking about Baka the person and what that means for him as a human being, then yeah, obviously it matters whether he did it or not. But when we're just talking about the beef and the lines and the bars going back and forth, nah, it doesn't really matter, man. It was a rap beef. Like, sorry, it is what it is. Now, I do believe that Kendrick didn't specify what Baka's weird case was because, again, Baka was never tried or found guilty for this possible crime. So if he would have went out there and said, yeah, Baka's a trafficker, he definitely would have been able to sue him, or probably would have been able to sue him for defamation. And that's why I believe that Kendrick didn't specify what this weird case was. Here's the part of the situation that people really aren't going to like, though, because if you're going to say, oh, well, Kendrick wasn't talking about that. We all know it's not cool to kind of bring up a case that didn't really go anywhere and really just lived as an accusation for a few weeks, if even that long before the charges were dropped. He was talking about Baka assaulting a woman. He was talking about Baka when he assaulted his ex-wife. Well, if that's the case, then I'm not going to lie, Kendrick's just being a hypocrite, because in hip-hop, it's really not that hard to find people who have very similar cases to Baka, and oftentimes even people within your own individual circle, including Kendrick Lamar. Kodak Black, who was one of his collaborators for his album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, pled guilty to assaulting a girl in 2016. Dr. Dre also pled no contest to his case with D. Barnes, the journalist that he assaulted in the early 90s, and has even been accused of abuse by his ex-wife. Now, I'm not bringing these things up in these instances to throw it in those people's face, to bash them, or to put their past into the light and be like, look at these people, and try to pass judgment on them. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just trying to put into perspective how, if Kendrick was, in fact, talking about him assaulting that woman, it's kind of hypocritical, because he's around people all the time who have been accused of and even convicted of the exact same thing. So if Baka's domestic violence case is a weird case, then Kendrick's been around some people with weird cases too. This does, however, bring up a point that I've had in the back of my mind when it comes to hip-hop culture for a while now, and it's something that I have wanted to bring up in the past. I just didn't know when the right time was, and I think it is now. When we talk about sex trafficking, we obviously know that's a bad thing. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on that. It's a terrible thing. It's a horrible crime. And I think as a society, we've started to take that crime a bit more serious over the last 10 years or so. And if I were to sit up here and say that Baka is a sex trafficker, and I was like, no, 100% stamped, accusation, it's true, here's the proof, all this, you guys would take that so serious. Oh my God, he's a horrible person. Ostracize him from society, send him to jail now, lock him up, throw away the key. He would be enemy number one of the public if I came out and said, yeah, he's a sex trafficker. I know this for a fact, it's true. If everyone would take that accusation very seriously, and people don't throw out that accusation as something to just, oh, well, whatever, it's not. No, it's very serious. However, if I were to say, oh, Baka used to be a pimp, people wouldn't take that as seriously. Being a pimp was seen as cool. Everyone wanted to be a pimp. And rap, being a pimp was a badge of honor back in the day. There's a whole subgenre of rap from the 90s dedicated to pimping. Now, pimp and pimping morphed more into an aesthetic and a way of life than just the actual action of being a pimp after a certain point, but there's still no denying the glorification of actual pimping. Snoop Dogg, probably the biggest rapper of all time, used to adapt pimp aesthetics and even admitted to being a pimp for a short period of time. I put an organization together. The rapper says in a Frank interview, I did a Playboy tour, and I had a bus follow me with 10 bitches on it. I could fire a bitch, fuck a bitch, get a new hoe. It was my program. City to city, titty to titty, hotel room to hotel room, athlete to athlete, entertainer to entertainer. Discussing his famous clients without naming names, Snoop added, if I'm in a city where the Denver Broncos or the Nuggets play, I get a couple of their players to come hang out, pick and choose, and whichever one you like comes with a number. A lot of athletes bought pussy from me. I've always hated the whole pimp thing because it's just sex trafficking. Selling women's bodies to the highest bidder is disgusting. We realize that now, but I want it to be very clear that there is no difference between being a pimp and a sex trafficker. One's just a little bit more scary sounding. If we all did our own research and saw that Baka was, he's not, but let's just say hypothetically, Baka was a convicted sex trafficker. He did 15 years in jail for sex trafficking. People's skin would start to crawl from disgust because of his weird case. But if Baka got on a song and rapped about how he used to pimp, nobody would bat an eye. So I just want that to be clear. If we're going to bring up Baka and his weird allegations, which I'm totally fine with, and I'm not even talking about Kendrick, I'm talking about us as a collective, because from Kendrick's point of view, I get it. If we're in a beef and we're really, really personal like Drake and Kendrick were, I'm liable to call whoever a whatever. It don't matter at that point. We just throwing stuff back and forth. So I don't care. I'm going to call you all out your name. I'm going to say a whole bunch of, you might not have even done it, but I'm going to say a whole bunch of stuff about you. So from that perspective, I get it. But I want all of us to be against trafficking in general and not be like, oh, well, he used the P word and that's kind of cool. Being a P, that's cool. But trafficking, that's terrible. No. All of it. We're against all of it. The dressing up, the purple suits and the canes, all that stuff is cool or whatever, but I want us to be against it because being a pimp isn't cool, bro. It's sick. It's sick, it's disgusting, and it's demonic. All right, it's demonic in my opinion. It's not a badge of honor to wear. I feel like we as a collective should not let that slide anymore. And this topic specifically with Baka was my perfect segue into talking about that, because that's the point I really wanted to lay home here as well. Pimping, sex trafficking, it's one and the same. It's not cool. It's sick. It shouldn't be looked at as a badge of honor. And we shouldn't only attack people when, oh, well, we know that's trafficking, but oh, he was cool back in the 90s. Nah, that ain't cool, bro. But if you made it this far, regardless, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know down below in the comments. Do you think that Baka is innocent, or maybe homegirl just moved away and she just didn't want to deal with it anymore because she lied? Or do you feel like she probably got ran out of town? I don't know. Whatever you got to say, let me know down below in the comments. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. It helps me out a ton. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.